Claire Vanderwoodson, my niece. Claire and I go back, way back, to when she was born. I have fond memories of teaching Claire how to ride horses and play polo in the yard of my estate. I even bought her a horse and named it Claire. But our relationship has never been the same since I missed her final Toddlers and Tiaras pageant 12 years ago. Now the only words I hear from Claire are, "Mordecai, I don't like you," or "Mordecai, you're dead to me." Claire will be graduating this year. Adele Zion Williamson, my trainer. One of the most decorated athletes I've ever met, next to myself, of course. She is in constant pursuit of the quote-unquote bread and will not stop until she acquires it. Her tenacity and zest is something that I truly admire, not to mention her ability to get results on the court, the field, or the ice. Adele can be somewhat of a wild card at times, and you never truly know what to expect. But one thing that I know with absolute certainty is that she loves a clean countertop. Buck McCoy, my groundskeeper. One of the most interesting men I have ever met. Unmatched in personal experience in nearly every trade on earth. He grew up in the deep, dark hills of eastern Kentucky, a place that you never leave without being changed. His homeschool education consisted of rabbit hunting, hole digging, and corn farming. He also spent time serving overseas for his country before stumbling across my estate 2 years ago in pursuit of a wild platypus. Dr. Callie Hopkins, my personal physician. Top of her class at Stanford and Johns Hopkins, Dr. Hopkins is no joke. I've spent the last 35 years trying to get Dr. Hopkins to laugh at one of my jokes with no avail. Something about her seriousness makes her even more staggering in my opinion. Since I was a little boy, my heart has done this thing where it chooses to jump like a jackrabbit at times. Dr. Hopkins is helping with that. Marie-Elise Papillon, my personal cook. All it took was one taste of Marie's famous chicken cordon bleu, and I knew she had to be my personal cook. I must admit, she can be slightly high maintenance at times. However, her cooking is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. When she's not cooking, she spends her time reminiscing about her time back in Paris. But one thing you can most definitely count on with Marie is that she's always a little bit salty. Viola Rosenberg, my violinist. I grew up to the sounds of violin echoing through the halls of our estate. When I became old enough to understand the intricacies of the pieces she was playing, it had me chuffed to bits. For all you Canadians out there, it had me pleased. Viola is somewhat of a second mother to me. I can distinctly remember her reassuring words as I practiced the playing the violin myself. "That's rubbish." Scarlett Monroe, my assistant. Where would I be without Scarlett? I wouldn't dare to think of it. Scarlett was handpicked as my personal assistant from a sea of dodgy applicants, and since the day she was hired, she has been the bee's knees. There are few people who actually know what the T in my middle name actually stands for. Scarlett is not one of them. Yet, Scarlett is still one of my closest colleagues, and when situations arise that need my direct attention, I put Scarlett on the case. Dr. Dominic Ursley, my personal therapist. Dominic is a top-notch lad who has studied at some of the finest institutes that the world has to offer. Between his experience in his own personal practice and his time spent with me as my personal psychologist, he always seems to find a way to bring your mother into the situation. Dominic rarely disappoints. Expect to see him soon, starring in his own personal reality TV show. Dacre Clemson, my bodyguard. Dacre is a simply complex man. Orphaned at a young age and left to fend for himself, I found Dacre and offered him a position that would allow him to take out his pent-up fear and anger on those who would attempt to hurt me. In his pockets he carries around pictures of a better time and a single strand of bobby hair to remind him of his youth. Dacre is a proper mate, and I am proud to call him my friend and bodyguard. Clarissa Patricia Redwell, my lifeguard. I've never been an avid swimmer. Some would even say I'm a better drowner than swimmer. For this reason, I have Clarissa. To date, Clarissa has saved my life 317.5 times. My motto is this: if someone keeps saving you from drowning, why learn how to swim? If I didn't do what I did all the time, then Clarissa would have no one to save, and she'd be out of a job. A little bit cheeky, but true. Stanley Johnson, my chauffeur. Stanley Johnson once boasted a staggering 3.5-star rating as a local Uber driver, until multiple stub toes caused him to quit. In dire need of a driver of my own, I demanded his assistance. Moving past all his difficulties with driving and seeing the road and controlling his road rage, Stanley has been a fine chap. He'll be receiving his driver's license this December.